In this video, I'm going to show you how to set up the binary counter um, activity. What it's got is like a binary number, ones and zeros. It's going to count up and eventually roll over. So actually, it's a pretty cool activity. Trust me. Trust. I know you don't believe me, but trust me. I'm going to click create a new project, and this is going to be a Windows Form application. So I'm going to select that up here from my recent templates and click next. And I'll call this activity binary counter, and make sure that you set the location to your X drive folder, in your submit C sharp, so I can find your project. And then when you've done that, click create. So Visual Studio has now created this project for us. Let's just do the stuff that we normally do to our projects. I'm going to change the text property on the form to say binary counter, so it doesn't say like Windows Form App 1 up there, or Form 1. That drives me crazy. And now let's go import the resources for this project. So to do that, project, properties, resources. You know how to do this. Project, properties, resources, add existing file. And let me go grab those grab those resources. Hang on, I gotta go find those. But for you, they'll be in the zip file. There, found them. So you just want to grab these two digits, the LED1 and LED0. And LED, of course, stands for light emitting diode, if you didn't know that already. So let's click OK. Those are our LEDs. And now let's go. Build out our interface here. So on the toolbox, I'm going to type in a menu strip, and let's add a menu strip to our form. And I'll give this thing the standard program menu, file, exit, help, about. All right, there we go. And while I'm here, let me just make those work. So I'll double click on exit. And to kill your program, that is application.exit. And for our help about, we'll just pop up a message box. So pop up a message box with your name. All right. Cool. All right. So there's our menu strip. Let's run it and just see that it works. And there's help, about, by Evan Wright. Cool. All right, and then file, exit. Nice. All right, let's go add some other stuff to our interface. Let's search for a picture box control. And we're going to add our picture boxes. This is very important. We're going to add them from right to left. If we don't do this, our number will be backwards. So I'm going to add a picture box here, and I'm going to set the size mode to auto size, and I'm going to choose LED 0 for my image, and there is a picture box. So that's picture box 1, and now I'm going to copy and paste that 3 times. Copy, paste, paste, paste. There we go. And we can kind of move stuff around later. Also, let's add some labels so we just kind of understand what we're looking at. So in binary, we don't have a ones, tens, and hundreds column. We have a ones column. We have, I'm just control C and control Ving there, copy pasting, and we have a twos column. Not a tweez column, a twos column, and we have a fours column, ones, twos, fours, and eights, because in binary our numbers are based on powers of 2. 2, 4. That's how many fours we have, and I guess yeah. All right. Do we really need to make it plural? I guess, yeah. That's the eights column, sure. All right, there's our eights. Okay, now. I'll kind of shrink this up a little bit here. Let's add some buttons onto our form. So I'm going to add a button here, and this will be, let's make this the reset button. There we go. And then I'm going to copy and paste that. And let's say this button is going to say step. It's going to single step our counter. There we go, step. And I will add another button. I just Control V there, and this will start and stop our timer. So let's say it says start on it for now, although we can change that. So this is button 1, button 2, and button 3. Okay, and then also we will need a timer. This whole thing is going to be driven by a timer. So let's search for a timer control, and let's drag that onto our form, and you can see that it's down there now. Let's leave it disabled, but let's change its interval property down here to 1,000. So at the bottom right, I'm going to change my timer's interval to 1,000. All right, cool. Now I'm just going to double click on everything and create the functions that will, handle when the events for the button clicks and the timer. So I'll double click on the timer here. There's our timer tick function. I'm going to double click on that button, and I'm going to just put a label up here that this is our reset function. And what about our step function here? Single step the counter. There we go. And then for our start button here, let's double click on that. Start, stop the timer. All right. Now, let's think about what else are we going to need? We're going to need some. Well, let's just. There's some stuff we can work on right now. So I'll help you out with the starting and stopping of the timer. This is just going to be an if statement. Else. So if the timer is enabled, we'll disable it. Otherwise, we'll enable it. So if the timer's off, timer's on. Timer's on, timer's off. All right, so how do we do that? Well, we can check the enabled property on our timer. So if timer 1 is enabled, if that is true, what do we want to do? We want to disable the timer. Timer 1 dot, nope. Okay, now there's a bunch of ways to do this. We could change its enabled property, or it has a stop function. We can just stop it that way. And if we stop the timer, we probably want button 3 to say start. So if the timer's on, we're going to stop it and then change the text on the button. And then let's handle the opposite case. If the timer isn't running, we'll start it and change the text to say stop. All right, that we can test right now. So let me run this, and there we go. Okay, so I should see start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, start, stop. All right, there we go. All right, so that is now working. Okay, so you shouldn't have to do anything else there. So you know what? I can just collapse that. Okay, so what else are we going to need? You will need a function called carry. And what carry does is it adds 1 to a particular digit in our number, which we haven't gotten to yet, and we're about to paste that in. So let me just make that function here, void carry int position. And let me put in a comment here. Adds a 1 to a position in our number. If this results in a carry, carry will call itself. This is explained in the flowchart. Okay. And then for the parameter, the position to add 1, 2. All right. 1, 2. Sure. All right, that makes sense. All right. So you're going to have to make this to do. That's for you. All right. Now, other freebies. Let's, in our reset function, let's do this. Stop the timer. And reset all bits in our number to 0. Put a 0 image in each picture box. There we go. So that's for you to do. And the timer tick function, all you have to do is call carry 0. And if you've done it right, the timer will just work on its own. All right. And for the, did I get that right? Yeah, same thing here. For your single step, let's stop the timer and call carry into position 0. All right, there you go. So I think that should, this is for you to do. And you'll, when you stop the timer, you're going to want to also change the text on the button back to say start. Okay, so now we've got, let's go look at the instructions for this assignment. So we've got this digit, or this number on our screen, this binary number. And what we want to do is model this using an array. So we'll have an array of integers. So the array will, every slot in the array will contain either a 0 or a 1. So this is position 0. This is the least significant digit in our number. This is position 0 in our array. It would be 1. The next position in our array would have a 1. The next position in our array would have a 1. The next position would have a 0. So we need some array that's going to model this number. Every bit, every single digit here is going to have its own slot in our array. How many digits do we have here? 4. So we'll need an array with 4 slots. So let's go add that to our class. So in case I want to change this later, like at the end, when it gets working, it's up to you. Just go change it so it works with 8 digits instead of 4. I'm going to make a constant integer here called, num digits. And I'm going to set it to 4. And if I want my program to be more digits later, I probably just have to change that. Now, I need an array of integers to store my digits in. So let me make an integer array. Int array. So this isn't one integer, this is an array of integers, and I'll call it digits. And now I have to allocate it. I have to actually go make the array. So that's a new integer of, now how many slots do I want? Well, I want num digits, right? So I could have just put a 4 there. That would have worked, except that it's a lot easier to use human readable constants. And then I also need, because I need to change all those picture boxes on my interface, I'm going to make an array of picture boxes as well. So how do I make an array of picture box controls? Aha. So a picture box, that's a type of object. I can make an array of them. A picture box array, and I'll call it picture boxes, is equal to, I'll make that point to a new array of picture boxes, a new picture box array. And when I make an array, I have to say how many things do I want in the array. I want num digits slots. Like, so up here I've defined, this is just a synonym for 4. I could have put 4 and 4 here, but you shouldn't go throwing magic numbers in your program because it makes it harder to read later down the road. All right, and now I'm going to give you one more freebie here, some code from the instructions to go put the picture boxes that are on your form into your array, into that array. So that code I've provided for you in the instructions. Let me go grab it, and I will explain sort of what it does. You don't really, maybe you can figure it out. Let's go back to the view code. Now you want to do this after initialize component. Initialize component is where all your controls get created. If I'm on initialize component and I hit F12 and it takes me to the definition of that function, this is where all of the, see all the picture boxes that I dragged onto my form, this is where they all get created. So if I do something before initialize component, those controls have not been made yet. They don't exist yet. So let's see. Let's go look at our code and take a look at what that does. So every form that we make has a parent object, just like we had this in GameMaker, right? Objects can have parents. There's an object called form, and a form has all sorts of properties in it, and one of those things that it has is a list of controls. So a form has a list of controls that are on that form. And what we're doing here is this list of controls has a find function that allows us to find controls by name. So what we are doing is building the name of the control here, and then looking it up in the list of controls that this form has. Now this find function actually returns us, look at controls, and it returns an array of controls. I don't want an array of controls. I want one single control. I'm just trying to find picture box 1, picture box 2, picture box 3. And I know that there's only one control with that name on it. So it's not like I'm going to get more than one thing in back. I'm not going to find two picture boxes called picture box 1. So that's what this dot first here is for. This controls dot find me this thing. That will return me an array of picture box controls, and I'm just going to grab the first thing out of it. There will never be two things in here, and if I misspell the names, there will be nothing in it, and this will crash. So what this is doing is it is putting a reference to picture box 1 in this array, and then it loops around again, builds this string, picture box 2, puts it in the array, picture box 3 puts it in the array. So now there's a bit of a snag because our controls start getting numbered at 1. Array slots start getting numbered at 0. So array slot 0, index 0, will contain a reference to picture box 1. Array slot 1 will contain a reference to picture box 2. That should be enough to get you up and running. Now you just need to do the stuff here that I've spelled out in the comments. So resetting all the bits in our number to 0, putting the 0 image back in each picture box. These are things you can do with loops, right? Watch the video on loops. And then look at the flow chart to figure this out, what to put in here. And you know what? I'm going to go do that right now and show you what this thing will look like when it actually runs. All right, so that took me all of maybe less than 5 minutes to actually do following my own instructions, which I haven't looked at in probably a year. So that means they're probably pretty good. All right, so let's run this thing. Now I've collapsed my functions so you can't cheat and peek into them and see what's in there. All right, so here's our timer, and let's step through the timer. So if I click step, now I've added 1. So 1 plus, so what I did was I carried a 1 into position 0. So 0 plus 1 is 1. Does that produce a carry? No. So I'm done. Let's step again. So if I add 1 to this place on the right here, 1 plus 1 is 2, except we don't have 2 in binary. 2 in binary is a 0 carry the 1. So that's just like 9 plus 1 is 10. That's a 0, and you carry the 1. Same thing in binary. So if I add a 1 now, 1 plus 1 is 0, carry the 1. So let's step again. You can see now I have a 2. So I have a 1 in the 2's column and a 0 in the 1's column. Let's step again. So now I have a 1 in this column. 0 plus 1 was 1. Did that produce a carry? No. Now watch what happens when I add a 1. So 1 plus 1 is what? 2, right? Which is 0, carry the 1. All right, now I'm going to carry over into this slot, into position 1 here. So 1 plus 1 is, what's that going to be? 0, carry the 1. Right, so I'll carry a 1 into there. And then 1 plus 0 is 1, and I'm done. There's no carry. So that's how this works. All right, so now I can hit my reset button, and that clears everything. And if I just want this thing to run on its own, it'll go on its... I don't know if you can hear that dog snoring in the background. There's a dog snoring in the background. And it'll just run here, and it'll count up to 15. So if you add up 8, 4, 2, and 1, you will get 15. And then when you get to 16, it rolls over. There's like a lost carry. This is just like the odometer on your car, you know, rolling over because it just ran out of digits. So there it is. That's what it looks like when it works. And then when it works, you can just add some more picture boxes on there and make yourself an 8-digit counter that can count up to 255. And then when it hits 256, it'll roll over and become 0. So there you go. That's how to get set up on that project.